Everybody, welcome again to Narita-San Temple here. Hopefully it's not too loud. We got a leaf blower in the background here. And I'm just sitting, a little bit of a waterfall here. It's going into a little lake here. There's some turtles, tons of koi, even some ducks, almost like cormorants over there, splashing around. Very, very beautiful. I'll just stand up, go around here. I like this spot. You can see right over here. Actually, I'll walk over here just to show everybody. Oh, here's our nice koi. You can just reach out and touch them here. Hi guys. Beautiful garden. And the big pagoda just past there has a big Fudomi or Vajrachala statue in it with for the 12 wisdom kings, which are amazing. And I was just at the main Narita-San Temple for the fire puja, Goma ritual, which I always try and do. And my layovers here. Okay, so I just wanted to record. This is beautiful setting. So I'm sort of got all this blissed out energy from the fire puja. A short class for our Tantra course here. And so again, taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha from our hearts. I and all sentient beings, Teju One, the refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Particular to the Dharmaju of wisdom realizing emptiness. And generating bodhicitta. That we do all things for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. May we become Buddha, that we lead all sentient beings to full awakening. And we can feel that in the sky, in front of us and above us, is the synthesis of all Buddhas, Buddha Vajradhara. Beautiful blue-colored body in lotus position, holding a Vajran bell across his heart with a crown and so forth, moonlight at his heart. Buddha's higher angelic form, synthesis of all of our teachers and our holy beings. And please grant us your blessings. And like a beautiful blue diamond or piece of lapis, he comes to the crown of our head, enters our crown chakra, and slowly descends to our heart. And feel great sort of bliss and luminosity and oneness. Okay, so just a few points I wanted to make here, continuing on with Lama Yeshe's book. So, the importance we said last time of having a teacher or finding a Lama to study with. So, our enlightened potential is energized and inspired by contact with someone who's done this to the full. So once we find someone, a fully awakened teacher, fully realized being, this, having contact with them and studying them, having a relationship with them, teaching pedagogical relationship, will awaken these same qualities within us. Just as an ego creates a world, a fully realized mind creates a world for the benefit of all. This is what's called a mandala, a deity and universe that's projected from the deity's mind. And if we want to actualize this in us, we have to enter the mandala by realized mastery. Then our practice of self-transformation can begin. So of course, just like we're deploying an entire sort of existential world through our own self-projects here, making everything, the environment around us meaningful, useful, and sort of what Heidegger would call handy, this is all coming from our mind, this universe that we're embodied in. The object and subject being together in this situation or world. So it is that a deity does the same thing. The deity, the seed syllable, the mantra, deity's body, deity's mind, sort of a unity of bliss and emptiness, all manifests the whole Buddha world or Buddha universe or mandala. And this is, we always say, Buddha is a pure mind, a pure body, pure actions, and pure enjoyment. So everything is pure, non-dual, blissful, full of love and compassion and beauty. So if we want to do this same thing ourselves, to end up sort of manifesting the same universe, Buddha universe, rather than a samsaric universe, we have to have these qualities sort of activated within us. So what we need to do is to receive a tantric empowerment. It's like we have to enter a mandala to activate these qualities, that we be able to deploy our own mandala. Right? That's kind of like an energy transmission or a ceremony of awakening. That sort of, we end up sort of replacing the samsaric universe we're sort of manifesting with a pure enlightened universe manifested sort of as a Buddha. So once we take the tantric empowerment, this whole process can begin. So each deity has its own unbroken lineage of transmission and practice to be reliable and authentic. We need to fully so we need any of these sort of lineages has to have as its source and at its source a fully enlightened experience. It must be passed down in an unbroken succession of adepts with keen realizations. So this is one sense of the idea of Tantra, meaning continuity, is the transmission of this lineage. And we have to make contact with this lineage through an empowerment. So what's basically, I've said before in what all Lamas teach, is that you need to find an authentic lineage. So just like if you want to become a lawyer, you want to go to the best law school, or if you want to be a doctor, best medicine, medical school, best pilot, best flying school, and so forth. So this is the one thing we can guarantee, is that if we have a proper lineage, we can trust it. Just like you can trust, you go hire a lawyer, and the little diploma hanging in the office says that, oh, they went to Harvard or Yale Law School. Oh, I trust this person because I know they're educated, they know the law, they're not like an idiot, they haven't kind of lied on their credentials and kind of get me into trouble, this, so forth. Just same thing as I want brain surgery. I'm going to have to find someone that I trust that's gone to the right medical school. So this lineage of Tantra is the same thing. We have to find a realized lineage that goes back 2,500 years to the Buddha practice lineage, where each adept, each student has become a master by receiving this lineage practice and realizing it on their own, and then transmitting it to someone else. And on an energetic level, the mandala has been passed down, mandala to mandala to mandala to mandala, mandala to you. It's been the same mandala sort of being manifested, and you're entering it, getting the transmission, and then manifesting it on your own. And this is the idea of Tantra, meaning, when we say that Tantra means continuity, there's many different ways to sort of understand that. But this is one way to understand it, is this continuity and lineage of blessing thing. So the empowerment, or tantric initiation, awakens special energy within us. Initiation, in this sense, is a shared act of meditation, an inner experience and not some external dualistic ritual. It's a special communication with the teacher or Lama giving this initiation, and it cultivates an inner nature so we can practice uninterrupted. And this is a real sense of empowerment. So we use the term initiation a lot. It's Wangchen in Tibetan for the full initiation, or Jainong for a blessed embodied speech of mind. There's different terms for this. Wang is kind of like the usual word that's used. So we always use the term initiation. But I remember Rinpoche, my Lama Zesutoba Rinpoche, was always sort of saying that he liked the idea of empowerment better, that it's empowering you, giving you energy, awakening energy within you, kind of turning on the engine, or sort of like the video game, you get a little power up, little, like all those Marvel movies, it's all kind of some glowy thing, glowy ball goes into you, and all your power gets activated. It's kind of like a better analogy using that, rather than just an initiation, like a ritual. Or like, if you understand it, one of the great British philosophers, 1950s and 60s, and 40s too, J.L. Austin, who did a lot of work on philosophy of language, he always said that language, he was one of the first guys to really popularize this, has a constative function and a performative function. In other words, we can have language can make references, give descriptions. His book is How to Do Things with Words, very, very famous book, and also Sense and Sensibilia. And then John Searle was his American student that wrote the famous book, the 1970s, on philosophy of language, Speech Acts, which is very, very famous. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. What Austin was saying is that, language, normally we're doing things like, again, making descriptions or references or these kinds of things, stating things, making proofs, blah, 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 different things. But he said also language has a performative function where it's almost like in doing things with language, you're creating a new situation or new reality. So again, we can talk about what marriage is, but when you get married to someone and you say, I do, now everything's different. You've sort of activated something, you've changed reality, you've performed something. There's been an action that has its consequences and entailments that follow from that. So, this Judith Butler, the great sort of gender theorist and philosopher, she uses this a lot when she says that gender is performative, in our society. Everybody knows all that. Famous structural Marxist Louis Althusser talked about being interpolated in the sense that, the state creates a subject or a sense of your subjectivity through performative uses of language in sort of our social discourse, where if he says it hails you, it's a second person singular plural, hey you, and you're like, who, me? And then all of a sudden, by you answering that way, you've taken on a whole coded universe that creates you as a subject. So what we're seeing is that when we're doing a tantric empowerment, it's kind of like that. It's an initiation, it's a ritual, but that ends up creating a reality. It is through attending the ritual and doing it properly here. Okay? So the empowerment is also an experience of totality. If you've ever been to one, it's an amazing sort of non-dual experience. And this is a direct antidote, of course, to your small, dissatisfied, totally reactive, dualistic mind, right? So another term Lama Yeshe says is initiation also means that you're starting something. It's your initiation, kind of like a little ritual, kind of like your bar mitzvah or something like this, where it's the idea that like there was all sorts of different cultures had different rituals marking different times in your life, like when you become an adult or have kids or these kinds of things, right? So it's the same thing. It's in this case the beginning of your tantric journey, the activating and penetration in reality of things. It awakens your wisdom, loving kindness, and openness and so forth. So in a qualified Lama instead, immediate empowerment, there's a blissful wisdom experience that ends up embodying the transitive blissful experience of the path itself. So not always when you go to tantric empowerment, it ends up being almost kind of like a metaphor for your entire tantric experience. Kind of like, like a little metaphor, a symbol for everything that you're going to experience in the future, everything you're going to be, and what it's going to be like along the way with the different empowerments that you get in the tantric initiation. So it ends up being a blissful, non-dual experience that ends up being sort of a taste of what the tantric path is in and of itself. Afterwards, of course, you always get the tantric empowerment, then the commentary from the teacher on what it all means, and then the subsequent practice. We'll talk about this a little bit later on in the course. The idea of once you get into tantric empowerment, what's the formalization of it, like what's the integration, what are you supposed to do with it. That's, of course, subsequent sadhana practice, and ultimately what they call a permission or lay run retreat, where you do all sort of a recipe of practice to get the permission to enter the mandala of the deity. And then you, at that point, are able to do a self-initiation and give you the sort of mandala activation on your own for yourself. And once you do that more and more and more, basically the mandala ends up sticking and you become an express one. So again, after this, we do our own practice, a sadhana practice, and see that this is a form of this deity sadhana after tantric empowerment is a form of Guru Yoga itself. By having this understanding that the deity and our teacher are the same thing, that we can sort of see that our guru is kind of like the translator or space or kind of conduit for the deity to come through, and eventually you start to see that they're the same thing. This ends up teaching us that the essence of the guru really, in essence, is wisdom, sort of the Buddha wisdom, the sort of Buddha mind wisdom, so to speak. A perfectly clear, radiant state of mind in which bliss and emptiness are one. And so every time we're dissolving our teacher in our heart, or sort of arising, creating mandalas, dissolving them, bringing everything to our heart, our mind, our root mind, sort of our soul, if I can use that term without it being too loaded, becomes mixed again and again with the deity and with our guru. And so that ends up inspiring us. It ends up becoming our teacher, our deity, ourselves as one, and that we're manifesting this in our meditation. And this is the ultimate sort of deep form of Guru Yoga. This sort of makes a big impression on us. And we have to recall this again and again and again as our daily practice. You have to think and remember of our Guru's kindness, kinder than our parents, because they're the ones giving us this path in the first place. Our teacher is sort of, again, initiating us, empowering us into this journey, kind of like a union journey to individuation, to full enlightenment. So that's the great kindness of our teacher, to be able to give us this in the first place, which is amazing. So again and again and again, we do our practice as our like our sadhana practice, as our Guru Yoga, our deity yoga, as sort of the main practice we do in our day-to-day lives, as sort of cultivating the view of this and the practice of this again and again and again, that we become it. So again, we end up sort of seeing the Guru ultimately as being the Buddha's wisdom being awoken in us. So it seems dualistic at first, they seem separate from us, then we break all that down and there's no longer any duality. So this is the unity of our Guru, our mind, and emptiness together. Okay? So this is what transforms our diluted mental energy into pure wisdom. And as Lama Yeshe says, this is the outstanding teaching of Tantra, the heart essence of Tantra. This is our true Guru Yoga. And it's this necessary inspiration to link our mind with the Buddha's mind, or really to activate our Buddha nature here. This helps to get us in touch with our inner reality. Deeper blissful character of our inner mind to identify with this against the coarse sense reality of our daily lives. This is what helps to integrate our wisdom and enjoyment. So basically, this is what ends up transforming appearances. We always say with Tantra, it's about transforming appearances and conceptions. So by doing our peer review, we end up transforming our conception of ourselves, our regular samsaric dualistic ego, into the conception of ourselves as a deity in a pure mandala. And as we always say, this again will create the blissful pure experiences, again, pure body, pure mind, pure actions, pure enjoyments, that transforms our regular coarse dualistic dissatisfying sense experience into pure experience of the Buddha. And that's what we can really talk about, sort of the quick path of Tantra. Tantra is the path of purity and the path of continuity. And if we understand continuity, almost in Bataille's sense, which is the lack of self, this is how emptiness is activated in our lives, realized in our lives, along with bliss and blissful mind, seeing everything from our root mind, meditating emptiness and great bliss. Okay. So hopefully this is, everybody can hear it's not too loud with their little waterfall here. And I'm just offering all of this up to you. It's blissful experience of being here at Narita-San Temple here in the garden. And wish you all the best and see you next time. So just take a moment to dedicate all this merit to the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Okay, lots of love.